Hello and welcome to the show. Now, auction properties come in all shapes and sizes, from tiny terraces to massive mansions.
Yeah, and the auction room's a great place to get a good deal.
So why not head down to...
Set Lucy's heart fluttering.
Oh, pubs are always handsome buildings.
In Cresswell, Derbyshire, the quirks of this mid-terrace could have you fizzing.
But this just doesn't look like it's been fitted very well at all.
And lastly, this Fulham mid-terrace had a problem that could be small or mammoth.
But clearly the elephant in the room is this.
All these properties were sold at auction, and we'll find out who bought them and what they paid for them when they went under the hammer.
Sold.
It was a cold, wet December day all the way back in 2013 when Lucy visited Sittingbourne in Kent to see this former pub guided at 125 to 135 grand.
I wonder what possibilities lie inside. Let's venture in. Oh, pubs are always handsome buildings and they have such amazing proportions. I always think they would be brilliant to turn into a family house, but that's not to be for this property. And as you can see, it's quite quiet. I can't imagine this would work anymore as an old boozer. There's certainly not enough footfall. And look, this is where the brewery would have turned up, rolled out the barrels. Ugh, it'd go under there. All the beer would have been stored underneath to keep it nice and cool. It's a fantastic space. The bar area here, although the bar's gone, the optics have gone, the bell's gone to ring time. There's not even a dartboard in here. It's in a bit of a sorry old state. You've got your glasses still down there, probably some tables and chairs for people that'd like to eat some food. Up here, it's not huge, but I bet it was fun in its day. I'm going to explore.
So, naturally, the obvious question was, what would you do with this place? There was definitely ample space to keep it as a pub, but with a good-sized commercial kitchen to the rear, perhaps it could have a future as a restaurant. Of course, there was also the possibility of turning it into a residential property. Upstairs tied into that nicely.
So this was obviously the living accommodation above the pub. The sitting room, I take it, you can see by the fireplace here. So quite a good space. You've got nice big windows there. But from where I'm standing, there's a big old corridor with room going off to another room and another room I'm going to explore.
Down that long hall, there were 3 bedrooms and a large family bathroom. The rooms were nicely proportioned and both had these lovely original fireplaces, although one was hanging on by a thread.
Somebody's had a real good old go at ripping this out of the wall, sadly. It's a beautiful old fireplace. And it's a nice room, in fact. You've got this lovely window, so could be a bedroom or a sitting room, bedroom through there, bathroom, another nice room, which is the mirror image of next door, again, with this lovely window. Now I've had a chance to walk around. I'm just thinking, if you were to develop this and turn it into flats, it would almost be too much of a luxury to have this as one flat. You know, it's just too big. There are too many rooms. And if you wanted to carve it into 2 separate flats, well, I think then it would be just that bit too small. Leave that one with me. I need to think about it.
While the pub might not have any beer, it did come with a fair chunk of land. There was a back courtyard, some outbuildings, and a sizable beer garden. While there was no pub grub cooking here, there was a smell of potential if you could overcome one problem. The land here was at a higher level than the rest of the plot.
Whatever you do with this old pub will depend entirely on what type of planning permission you're able to get from your local council. They may have restrictions on what they will allow you to do with certain types of properties in certain areas, especially in these difficult economic times. Is there a lack of affordable housing in the area? Or is there a pressing need to develop businesses and create jobs? Different local councils will have their own priorities when regenerating an area, so you've got to do your research and speak to the local authority to find out what they want and what they are likely to grant planning permission for, and then you can start using your imagination.
I know they will talk about it.
So, a good, well-thought-out plan for this pub and its interesting plot of land had to be on the table here. But who was going to bite at auction?
Freehold premises. As we've said, well, obviously it was a former pub. Guide 125, 135, start me at 125, £125,000, 125. Where do you want to start me then? Start me at 100. £100,000, let's see where we get to. £100,000, I'm in on the back. At £100,000, 100, and 5, 105, 105, and 10, 110, 110, and 15, 115. At £110,000, I've got 115 I'm looking for. We all done at £110,000. Can't tempt you any further. Nope, OK, well, come and talk to us.
The lot failed to reach the reserve price set by the vendor, so there were no successful bids in the room. But a deal was done at £113,000 with local property developers Sunil and his wife Geeta. And it was quite a surprising buy as far as Geeta was concerned.
Well, when Sunil came home, it was, I thought it was quite ironic that, you know, he came home and told me that we'd bought a pub and he doesn't even drink.
So why did you buy the pub? Obviously not to turn into another pub, I take it.
It's a good investment for us, and it's, you know, if it's a pub today, it could be a school tomorrow or something else. So,
what do you know about this building? Is there any restrictions on this property?
the history of this is it's always been a pub, but it's not been a successful pub. It's changed hands 6 or 7 times in the last 10 years, which is in a way good for us because when we're making planning application, we can show that it hasn't been viable and it's not just the business owner, it's a number of business owners.
So it's all about going for change of use, obviously?
Absolutely, yes. Yeah.
So what sort of ideas have you got for this place now?
Well, initially the idea was to turn it into 3 flats, 1 upstairs and then 2 downstairs. But we've also been investigating the possibility of turning it into a special needs school.
OK, really interesting. Now, why have you gone down that avenue and why a school in particular?
It's just as an opportunity arose, we were talking to one of our current landlords and he said he'd been approached by the council and they were looking for a school, a special needs school with 4 classrooms in the area. So he came down and measured up and said, yes, we should look at this possibility.
Now, am I missing the huge opportunity, which in my mind was that big old redundant piece of land out the back? You can't use it for parking. Could you extend? I don't know. I mean, that is just like a redundant plot of land. Is there any way you could get access onto that from the neighbouring property?
Absolutely, because I think the neighbours have already done, they've taken away, it was the same. So it's an opportunity for us to take that away and flatten and then maybe build something facing the road on the other side.
I mean, they're both on completely different
Yes.
levels,
Yeah.
so you'd have to sort that out straight
Yes.
away, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but I think you spotted a good opportunity there.
Sunil and Geeta had a few intriguing opportunities with this old pub, but no definite plan, and so no definite timescale or budget. However, they earmarked £30,000 for whatever the work was going to be. It was 13 months later when we returned to see what they'd managed to do. 3 flats had been fitted into the old pub footprint, but Geeta was a little regretful that the special needs school hadn't been possible.
That would have been our first choice, but time frame by which we would get an answer and some kind of an agreement was just too long. So we couldn't really wait around because we needed to get the project underway.
So instead of the school, Sunil and Geeta received planning permission to separate the pub into 3 separate flats. Upstairs, the layout of the 3-bed flat remained the same, but it had been modernised with an open-plan kitchen and living room. And they had retained some of the original touches. The bedrooms had been decorated with new windows installed. In the main pub below, they got approval to divide it into 2 2-bedroom flats. Even though the imprint of the old building was visible here and there, it was easy to forget this was once a public house. The flats offered modest but comfortable surroundings, so not surprisingly, perhaps, they had already been rented out. It also seemed Sunil and Geeta had no issues whatsoever finding tenants to move in.
People were like interested. As soon as we started doing the works, they were really interested in what's going on in the old pub.
Even before all 3 flats were ready, we had tenants who were ready to move in, so that was really, really great.
With that part of the project secured and a reasonable yield of 7% from the rent, Sunil and Geeta weren't calling time on this former pub just yet. After all, remember, Lucy was keen on them developing that plot of land out back. Well, join us later in the show to see what Sunil and Geeta did next. This is Cresswell in Derbyshire, divided from Nottinghamshire by the formidable Cresswell Crags. The crags are a magnesium limestone gorge dotted with several large caves, many boasting exciting tales from history. A particular favourite is the Robin Hood Cave, where the outlaw reputedly hid out from the authorities.
I'm here to see a 2-bed mid-terrace house which came with a guide price of £48,000. Everything looks nice in the sunshine. Oh, I like this wee feature. It's like kind of like a mini defence wall. Let's go look.
It's hardly Nottingham Castle, but it does look quite nice.
First up, I'm not a big fan of this door. It's not energy efficient, it's not modern. I'd like to see a new door put in there, one that didn't have this glass in, so that somebody couldn't peer in and see if your lights were on and off, if you were at home or not. It looks like there's been a recent paint job. It's nice to come into a house that feels bright and light, and in this case, very white, through to a second reception room. If anything, it's a bit bigger than the first, fantastic proportions going on. I like the framing of this staircase here. It's bang in the middle of your wall. It's a wee bit different to have it there, and I do like a quirk. Now, you've had recently installed, because it's a USB port, which is, pretty modern, but this just doesn't look like it's been fitted very well at all. You would have to replace that, make sure everything's safe. Hold on, look at this. Look at this for a door. I'm guessing this takes you through to your kitchen. A door has been hung. I say a door. It's not the door that actually fits this frame, but yeah, it's a quirk, but not in such a good way. Your kitchen looks pretty modern. It looks pretty newly fitted. It's a bit rough around the edges. I'd like to see a higher end finish, but you could definitely keep this. The thing about this house is it's a bit of a TARDIS from outside. It looks teeny, and then it just keeps going back and back. It's very, very long. After this kitchen, you have a little kind of porch area, come sunroom. That roof has seen better days. It looks a wee bit grotty, so you need to replace that. And as for this, some perspex, you want some safety glass in there or a new door completely, because a temporary finish on your house is never a good thing.
The overall finish is a bit rough and ready here and there, which calls into question the things you can't see. At the very least, you'd need to get an electrician to take a serious look at the wiring, with a view that it might need a total rewire. Out back, there's a decent-sized garden that's escaped the DIY treatment, and for some time by the looks of it. Upstairs in the 2 bedrooms, some more questionable workmanship is trying to fly underneath the radar under a lick of white paint. There's definitely more work here than meets the eye.
And a sliding door brings us to a great size bathroom. This is a family bathroom and a half. It has a bath just now, but there's plenty of room to be thinking about careful use of space and creating a walk-in shower as well as your bath. Yes, it's a bit tired. Interesting use of marble effect, shiny panels on your walls, and then up on the ceiling, you've got more panels which don't actually fit properly and haven't been finished off. On your floors, not a great finish. Now, call me high maintenance, but whether you're buying or renting a property, The least you want is ceiling panels that cover your ceiling and floors that cover your floor.
Not high maintenance at all, Martel. They're just basics. Apart from the electrics checks, which is a given, what does an agent from the auction house that sold it make of this house, guided at $48,000?
The property's a good purchase. It's almost ready to go for the rental market. You would want to have a few finishing touches to the property. For example, the interior doors would need rehanging and the garden would need sprucing up to make it a low maintenance usable space. If you were going to sell this property, I would suggest you go the extra mile and you'd want to replace the kitchen and the bathroom.
Hanging a few doors will be significantly cheaper than a new kitchen and bathroom. So would it be worth the hassle? How do the sales and rental estimates compare?
I would suggest it would achieve somewhere between £60,000 and £65,000. If you were to offer this property to the rental market, I think it could achieve anywhere from £400 to £425 per calendar month.
This is a house that's deceptively big, or maybe I should say long. It goes back and back a bit further, and then with that long garden back further still, you're getting a lot of property here for your money. There are a few renovation jobs that you might need to undo and possibly do again, but other than that, not too much needing done. Who was up for giving it the kiss of life? Let's find out what happened when it went under the hammer.
A recently improved two-double-bedroom mid-terrace property at £48,000 bid me. 45. Doesn't matter where we start, does it? 40. Where's £40,000? And thank you, sir, at 40.
Pound clinched the sale for Robert. He was on the phone to pal Simon, and they bought the house for £51,500. They live an hour away in Derby. Robert's a health and safety expert, and Simon owns a flooring shop, which should come in handy for that bathroom.
Robert, pleased to meet you.
Pleased to meet you.
Simon, pleased to meet you.
Pleased to meet you.
You guys are pals. When did you meet? When did you first meet?
Well, I moved to a village where Simon lived nearly 30 years ago now, so we met in the village, really. We used to play in the village all the time, and we went to school together as well, so we've probably known each other nearly 30 years now.
So what's the thinking about coming together to renovate property?
We've wanted to do it for a long time, to be honest. We've always talked about doing it, and then we thought we might as well give it a go. We'd both got a bit of money in the bank that wasn't doing anything, so we thought, why not have a go?
Yeah. Why this house? Talk me through the decision process, auction, everything.
Well, I made it to the auction that day to buy another property, but went beyond what we wanted to pay for it. So I was looking through the catalogue on the phone to Simon at the time, and this came up. And so I rang Simon and said, this seems quite cheap. We hadn't looked at it prior to buying it. We hadn't read the legal pack, so it was a bit of a whim buy, really. So I broke all your rules that you say on the programme. I saw the property in the catalogue. It looked in quite good condition, so we thought we'd take a bit of a risk on it.
I'm not even going to say anything to the rule breaker. I'm just going to roll my eyes, like.
Yeah.
Yep, those golden rules. View the property and do your research are there for a reason. We'll let them off with an eye roll this time, as they're not exactly wet behind the ears when it comes to property. Robert's bought at auction before, and Simon has a small rental portfolio. But this will be their first as a team.
As I've been walking around, I've noticed a few renovations have been done. What's your thoughts on them?
There's some good bits and some bad bits, to be honest with you, but we'll try and rectify them.
Just another challenge we'll do.
And make sure it's safe, because we're going to let it out as well. It's important that we get everything done properly.
So your fire alarms and
yeah, we'll
things
get everything checked and up to standard.
In addition to getting the house up to scratch from a safety perspective, they'll be decorating and adding new floor coverings downstairs, courtesy of Simon. They'll be keeping the bathroom and kitchen and tidying the garden, as well as adding new fencing.
What's your budget?
Probably about 5,000.
Yeah.
That'll get everything that we want to get done, and then should be all ready to rent then.
And how long do you want it to take?
I would imagine maybe a couple of months.
2 or 3 months, isn't
Yeah.
it, really? Yeah.
Not long. How are you going to balance that given you both work?
Difficult.
And you don't live near here.
Yeah,
No,
we're
but-
really busy at the minute.
And
at
we're
work,
both
that's
busy
the
with
only
work,
thing.
yeah. But we'll get through. We'll get
Friends, family.
friends and family to help out.
Yeah.
Are
Yeah.
you going to be doing a lot of the work?
We'll do as much as we can, yeah.
Yeah.
And then we'll get trades and then to do the things that we can't do. So
Electrics and
plumbing,
things
stuff like
really,
that,
isn't
yeah.
it? Yeah.
Yeah.
But anything else, yeah, we'll have a go at, really.
You're good pals, you've been good
Yep.
pals for 30 years. Will that last the test of a property renovation?
hopefully, yeah. But time will tell, I suppose.
Yeah.
But
We'll be
yeah,
all
I'm
right.
sure we're fine.
That's good.
Yeah.
It's been lovely to meet you and best of luck. This is exciting. Simon and Robert are childhood pals and now they're embarking on their first property adventure together. Hopefully not a lot needs done here. Well, I'll say that. Those renovations, I think they need redone. Will that £5,000 budget stretch? You can find out later in the show.
Still to come, I've got designs on this Fulham lot. So now let's talk about what we could potentially do with it. Here's a bit of a curveball. And we return to Derbyshire to see how Simon and Robert got on with their blind bought lot.
Apparently that was a bad thing.
Earlier in the show, we call back to see an old pub in Kent that Lucy visited all the way back in 2013.
Oh, pubs are always handsome buildings and they have such amazing proportions. I always think they would be brilliant to turn into a family house, but that's not to be for this property.
With a guide price of £125,000 to £135,000, this former pub offered potential. But as ever with any property, Lucy had words of warning.
You've got to do your research and speak to the local authority to find out what they want and what they are likely to grant planning permission for.
It was bought at auction for £113,000 by Sunil and Geeta. And Lucy gave them a pretty helpful tip.
Now, am I missing the huge opportunity, which in my mind was that big old redundant piece of land out the back? You can't use it for parking. Could you extend? I don't know. I mean, that is just like a redundant plot of land. Is there any way you could get access onto that from the neighbouring property?
Absolutely, because I think the neighbours have already they've taken away, it was the same. So it's an opportunity for us to take that away and flatten and then maybe build something facing the road on the other side.
I mean, they're both on completely different
Yes.
levels,
Yeah.
so you'd have to sort that out straight
Yes.
away, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but I think you spotted a good opportunity there.
When we returned 13 months later, they had successfully renovated the old pub into 3 flats and rented them out. But they hadn't forgotten that opportunity Lucy had tipped them off to. Now, a further 5 years on, we've come back to catch up with Sunil and Geeta and find out what they've been up to. So, the old pub is much the same as the last time we were here, but out the back, where there was once a beer garden,
Last night you built me up again. You made me feel that I could win. Last night you built me up again.
well, isn't this a turn up for the books? Sunil and Geeta levelled off the former beer garden so that it met the road at the back of their property and built this. Inside here is a 1-bedroom flat and a 2-bedroom flat with a parking space for each on the ground level.
Lucy walked us around the bearded garden and said, "What are you doing with this?" And we said, "We don't know."
We weren't aware at the time that, maybe we could do something with that.
But that was a fantastic idea that we were then able to talk to our local architect who was already worked on the first part and said, what can we put in here? And he came out with this design.
The block has 2 flats, both across 2 floors, with both already being tenanted. A 1-bedroom flat on the first 2 floors has an open-plan kitchen and living room to make the most of the proportions. While upstairs, there's a lovely bathroom and a bright bedroom. The second, bigger flat has stairs leading directly to this ample-sized kitchen living room on the first floor. Then up some more stairs, we find 2 beautiful bright bedrooms built into the eaves. And a good-sized bathroom. This property looks fantastic, and what a way to maximise their asset on this plot. But they weren't the only ones on this street to have the same idea.
The developers further down the road who had built similar building to this one, they were basically our brother-in-law and sister-in-law and another investor that we know locally.
We used the same architect, so because he had a good relationship with the council, he really knew the area. So they do look similar, all the developments on this road, because it's part brick and part cladding. We were very fortunate with our family, my sister and my brother-in-law, my brother-in-law is a really good guy, and he's, you know, more of a project manager and knows about building more than we do. So he helped us to project manage it, and we put the money in and, you know, made sure that we were happy with things at each stage.
Yeah, I think we've got a good team behind us that have helped us to achieve this project, which we probably wouldn't do without their help. Yeah.
And it seems as though Lucy's advice may have had a larger impact than she intended.
We've taken that knowledge, and before this was even started, we looked at our portfolio and other properties that we own and said, where can we put something? Where can we provide accommodation for the local community? So we found one on we had a yard on the back of a house, and we were able to get 2 flats there. Another one, which was on the side of the property, where we've, again, obtained planning, but we haven't actually started work there. And Geeta and I were having a conversation the other day about, can we go down for parking? Can we go? Can we use, you know, sort of airspace? So there's lots and lots of opportunities, but I think that's been our biggest learning when we came here, when we met Lucy, that said, look, you know, there is opportunity right on your doorstep, right under your nose.
Previously, Sunil and Geeta had spent £193,000 buying the pub and renovating it. So how much did it cost them to build these 2 additional flats?
On this project, we spent just around £200,000, and a lot of that cost was the initial part of taking the level down to the ground level. So that's what the major cost was, apart from, of course, the building and the quality and meeting building regulations.
So, with £200,000 spent on their 2 new flats and the cost of the land already covered in the earlier purchase, what will 2 local estate agents make of them?
I think they've done extremely well. Since when I first came here, it was just a pub garden. So there's a good bit of foresight. Someone's thought about this well and planned it extremely well. Considering what they could have done, which is just getting 2 flats, you know, one above the other, the way this has been adapted, it works really, really well.
First impressions on the flats are excellent. I think it's a very good use of the space available. It's modern, bright. I couldn't say anything I would say that you could do to improve it. It's really as good as you can get for the type of property.
High praise for the flats then, but are they getting the best rental return for them currently? What do the agents think?
I think this 1-bedroom flat could achieve between £500 and £600 per calendar month.
The 1-bedroom rental, probably in the region of £650 a month.
I think the 2-bedroom flat could achieve between £700 and £800 per calendar month.
Because it's the layout and it's nice and it's close to town, for rental, again, you're probably up £825, £850 per month.
The second agent, we're more in agreement with him because we are achieving £650 on the 1-bedroom and £830 on the 2.
Sunil and Geeta now have 5 flats in total, which have cost them £393,000 to create. Taking all the rentals together, they are making over a 10% yield and could sell the lot and make a profit, boosted by that clever Lucy suggestion of over £300,000. Despite Sunil and Geeta's 25 years in the property business, there's always a new angle to think about, and their secret seems to be a good division of labour.
As long as we stick to our own parts of what we need to do, and I do as I'm told,
Well, I don't know if that's always quite the case, but but I think we do. Overall, we do work really well together because we do bring a different set of skills together.
Nestling in a loop of the River Thames lies Fulham, once a predominantly working-class area of London. As house prices in neighbouring Chelsea and Kensington rocketed, it was inevitable that property investors would turn their gaze next door to the less expensive Fulham. The result of all that investment is that Fulham is now one of the most sought-after residential areas in London for those who can afford it. Well, just half a mile from the River Thames, this is a very desirable part of London. So we are in the realm of pretty interesting property prices when you compare it to the rest of the country. For instance, this was the auction property. It's a 4-bed mid-terrace. Guide price, £780,000 plus. So what does just over £750,000 buy you around here? It's interesting, isn't it? You know, in other parts of the country, maybe this would cost a tenth of that. But, you know, well, that's just London for you. It gets you a very big entrance for you, that's for sure. A nice wide stairs up to whatever's up there. We'll discover that in a minute. A large, well, sort of double-fronted, but to the side living area there, living room, which is quite nice. Then down some steps into the rear of the property, where there is a big-sized kitchen. Now, it is nice, and with a bit of imagination, you can do all sorts of things here. And that's what you're going to need. You're going to really have to think carefully about what you do with this to put it into the kind of bracket that the area would command. A quick look at the back of the building illustrates the narrow but long footprint of the house, typical of the terraces in this neighbourhood. But goodness me, this is a rare sight in West London these days.
Out of sight and out of mind.
So upstairs, quite an interesting layout. You've got this little sort of mid-floor, if you like, with a bedroom there and a bathroom at the end. And up there, you've got 3 other bedrooms and nice-sized ceilings and all that kind of stuff. But clearly the elephant in the room is this. A really rather nasty crack on the stairs here. That goes all the way up. How serious that is, I do not know. It's a mid-terrace, so probably it's not that serious, but anything that big certainly wants to have a second opinion from a structural engineer. No second opinion required on the bedrooms, though. They aren't in great nick, and it looks to me like some creative partitioning might have been employed to squeeze an extra room in here. The bathroom at the back is a heady mix of pine boards and parquet flooring. OK, so we've seen the house. Now let's talk about what we could potentially do with it. Here's a bit of a curveball. This nice big entrance, the fact you've got these stairs here, could this possibly be converted into flats? Well, interestingly enough, that is what a lot of the other houses around here have done. So why would you do that? Well, I've just checked it out, and 2-bedroom flats around here recently have been selling, wait for it, for between, this is a flat, right, £600,000 and £800,000. That's for a 2-bedroom flat. So if you could convert this into 2-bedroom flats, which I don't think would be too difficult, suddenly that guide price doesn't seem so mad after all. There's eye-watering potential here. But of course, you would need to get planning permission for your conversion. Would the local authority play ball? Time to speak to a local estate agent who knows what's likely to fly with the local planning department.
The local authority are very in favour of some of the unmodernised properties in the area to be developed. Along with some development that's currently underway, they want that trend to continue, and this property lends itself very well to that.
That's great news, but what about values? If the new owner refurbished the house in its existing layout, how much could it be worth?
I would think it would sell for a figure in the region of £1.4 million.
And if converted into 2-bedroom flats?
If you renovated the property into 2 flats, the garden flat on the ground floor would attract a value of £895,000. The upper flat, spread over 2 floors, would attract a value of £695,000.
Well, I think there's money to be made on this one, whatever you decide to do. 2 flats, keep it as 1. There is, of course, that crack to sort out, but, you know, the area is what it is. That is desirable. Let's see who bought it when it went under the hammer.
4-bed mid-terraced house. Requires some modernisation. I don't know, start at 800 on this. I'm not going to go below 8 on this one. That's a bid on my right, thank you. 800,000, well done. 800. 805 anyway. 805, that's easy. 805. 810. 815. 820.
With 2 bidders on board, the price slowly crept up. We rejoin with bids at £880,000.
I've got 880 sitting down. 885. Yes? Hold at 885. 890. 890. 895 standing up. You're close. Have a think. 890 sitting down. 895 elsewhere. If not, 890 sitting down. First time, second time, third and last time. Have you all done? Sold 890. Goodbye. Well done.
Good, very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
So tell me why you wanted to buy this house.
Actually, at the beginning, my parents asked, like, if you want to stay longer, want to settle down in London, because it's such an amazing city. So you may think about, like, purchase property there. I was thinking, oh, yeah, so that may be a good idea. I've been, like, actually searching many in the auctions.
Okay.
And finally, well, some went really crazy expensive, and someone just, not suits me. So we went this one, finally.
Okay. So it was your mum and dad's idea?
Yeah, part of that. Because, like, for the Chinese parents, they always think, oh, you should get a house first, and then you can settle down there. If you always keep renting, that means, you may move somewhere else.
Good advice.
Yeah.
So, Shiluin is obviously excited about settling down in London and doesn't seem the least bit fazed by paying over £750,000 for the pleasure. And all thanks to his mum and dad's good advice. Whereabouts are your mum and dad? Where in China?
They in my hometown Tangshan, which is near Beijing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But let me get this right, you're a student?
Yeah.
And you bought a £750,000 house, actually more than that?
Yeah, it's more than that.
How many students could afford that? How do you manage that?
So I got property in China before, so I sold it, and some part of other fund came from my parents.
They helped. Okay, back to mum and dad.
Yeah, because even for this house, we plan to divide it into 2 separate flats.
Oh, do you?
Yeah, that's why I think even my parents can stay in one of them. So
Okay.
which is nice.
Do you know much about the London property market? Have you done a lot of research before you
Yeah,
bought?
actually, there was one property like 5 doors next. They plan to sell it around £2 million.
£2 million?
Yeah.
How much bigger than this, though?
They got the excavation extension and the loft extensions.
But still.
Yeah, they're doing luxury design, but it's still, good profit. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So tell me what you're planning to do with this house, then.
Okay, so first of all, for sure, it's gonna be divided into separate flats.
2 flats.
Yeah, that's the plus. There will be a loft conversion upstairs. After that, I think I may even think about applying for the planning permission for the excavation extension.
Well, to go down there?
Yeah, because if it's separated in 2 flats, the ground floor one is quite small.
Okay.
So it gives huge spaces for this.
Where'd you go then? You go down even further?
Yeah. Gonna be like excavate one more floor downstairs.
Wow.
I have seen the work that they have done this. That's why it went expensive. Yeah, because they give extremely entire new house here, proper one. Yeah.
Horrendous looking crack.
That gonna be cost around £50,000 to £80,000 actually.
Wow.
But think about the excavation extensions. If we do that work together, actually it's part of the work there.
Okay.
So then it won't be extra cost actually.
And after this, what are you going to do? Are you going to do more?
Yeah, well, if I'm gonna sell it, yeah, absolutely go more. I'd like to maybe one project for each period. So yeah, the one. Just like you just provide a bit more like beautiful stuff for the society, which actually feed you a lot. Yeah, bring you happiness. Yeah, that's
great.
Right. Yeah.
Well, listen, congratulations.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Good luck with
Yeah,
it, and look forward to seeing how you get on.
Good.
Zsa.
Thank you.
Well, Shalun has some very exciting and ambitious plans for this place, and I love his passion and enthusiasm. How will it turn out? You can find out later in the show.
We've seen what one of our buyers managed to achieve, but how about the other two?
Will it be mission accomplished or back to the drawing board?
Let's waste no more time and find out.
Earlier in Cresswell in Nottinghamshire, Martel saw this two-bed guided at £48,000. It was freshly painted and renovated. Only on closer inspection, it might not have been the finest finish.
Don't touch me, I scream. I've got unfinished business.
Call me high maintenance, but the least you want is ceiling panels that cover your ceiling and floors that cover your floor.
And surely it's not too high maintenance to ask for properly finished electrics, correctly hung doors, and a kitchen with all the snagging done. It was buyers Robert, here on the left, and Simon who clubbed together for their first venture together. They paid £51,500 at auction and planned to spend £5,000 over 2 to 3 months putting the irregular renovation right.
There's some good bits and some bad bits, to be honest with you, but we'll try and rectify them and make sure it's safe, because we're going to let it out as well. It's important that we get everything done properly.
But the shoddy work came as something of a surprise to them.
Broke all your rules that you say on the programme. We hadn't looked at it.
I'm not even going to say anything to the rule breaker. I'm just going to roll my eyes like...
Yeah.
Rather than us chastising them, shall we see how things are 4 months later? Have they finished the renovation, or better yet, started from scratch and done things right?
To a house. It's usually just painting and flooring. That's what I usually go for, which I thought this was when we got it.
We did think it was, but it turned out to not be.
Yeah, but again, that's what happens when you don't view it as well. So first we uplifted up the carpets, took all of those out, took all the flooring away, and then into the garden, ripping up all the fence. It was hard work.
Yeah. We had to obviously rip everything out, then we had to put it in our vans and then drive it back to my house where we had the skip. We really struggled to get a skip on the street because it was so busy, isn't it?
And the permit.
Of course, if you had viewed it, boys, you'd have known that getting a skip on the street might have been difficult. But Robert and Simon have learnt their lesson the hard way.
The roof was in a bit of a poor state, really. Looking at it from the outside, it looked fine. But we realised we'd had a leak, which damaged then a few of the walls, didn't it?
A lot of the lead flashing was actually curling off, so I've had to redo that.
And then we had an electrician out to sort all the wiring out and to make sure that everything was safe. And then we discovered that there was no earth to the building, which I didn't really know what that meant anyway, to be fair, but apparently that was a bad thing.
Yeah.
It's a really bad thing. It means any metal sockets or outlets are very dangerous and can make devices plugged into them dangerous too. There are several ways to earth electrics for a house, such as an earth spike, but you always have to get a qualified electrician in to do the electrics, as anyone doing the work is legally responsible should anything go wrong. Thankfully, that's what the guys did, and sadly the surprises didn't end there. The bathroom had some snagging left to go, and for good reason.
I thought the bathroom was all right.
It did look all right,
We thought we could probably get away with leaving that how it was, but when I was trying to sort the ceiling out, I just thought I'd have a look behind one of the panels just to see what the wall was like behind. And as soon as I pulled the panel off, the wall was just crumbling behind. And there was a lot of damp mould. In the end, it was just easier to just start all over again, to be fair.
To be fair to them, even if they had viewed the property, that might not have been apparent. All this extra work and juggling their own jobs has cost them an extra month on their timescale. But what has it cost them in cash?
5,000 is what we thought initially, but we've soon discovered that that would soon go out the window. So we're probably around about 8,000 now.
And so we come to the end of what's a bit of a cautionary tale for breaking our golden rules. Time to get the views and valuations of two local estate agents, starting with the one who saw it last time.
The property's been done up to a nice standard. It looks really nice throughout, nice and neutral, definitely ready to go to either sell on the open market or for any rental. If it was my property, I'd probably try it on the rental market first.
It's been done to a good standard. I can see there's still some snagging issues that need resolving, but overall, it's a good renovation.
Simon and Robert have spent £59,500 so far. While there's still snagging to do, both agents thought the two-bed could sell for between £65,000 and £70,000. That would give them a potential pre-tax profit of £10,500, but they're keen to rent it out.
If we were to place this property on the rental market, we'd achieve around the £450 per calendar month.
If the property was to come to the rental market, I'd hope the property would achieve around £425 per calendar month.
450 to 5, I think we were looking at. So yeah, probably no surprises really, but.
If they got as much as £500 per calendar month, that would be a 10% yield. Simon and Robert's first venture together has been a well-deserved success, but all property development is a learning curve. So what do you learn from this one, guys?
I'd definitely advise to look at the property before you buy it. It's certainly something we won't be doing again in the future. But
and get one nearer to where you live.
And get one nearer to home. But apart from that, I think it's worked out quite well.
Yeah, it's been a good one to start with.
Yeah.
Earlier on in the show, I visited the West London area of Fulham. I was here to see quite an attractive prospect. This 4-bed mid-terrace with a guide price of £780,000 plus. But what you'd get for your money wasn't bad by London standards, if it was a little dated in style.
But clearly the elephant in the room is this. A really rather nasty crack on the stairs here. That goes all the way up.
However, the real question was, how best could you maximise the potential profit here?
Could this possibly be converted into flats? Well, interestingly enough, that is what a lot of the other houses around here have done.
It proved popular at auction, selling for £890,000 to Shaluin. Originally from China, he was studying for his PhD in London, and his parents thought he might like to set down some roots in the city. He planned to split the house into 2 flats, but had an additional idea that surprised me.
After that, I think I may even think about applying for the planning permission for the excavation.
Well, where'd you go then? You go down even further?
Yeah. Gonna be like excavate one more floor down that.
Shaluin intended
to split the house into 2 flats. The reason is the city council prefer to maintain at least like 20% of the house in the community. So for houses less than 1,000 square feet, they'd like to keep it as a house. But now we got the chance to build a lovely home house then, yeah.
This is a reminder that it's a good idea to talk to the local planning department before making any conversion plans. An initial chat can help give an indication of what the policy is for a particular area. In this case, with the policy designed to keep a proportion of properties as family homes, Shaluin's plans for flats were scuppered, but he's staying positive. is he still as enthusiastic about digging down?
Yeah, I gave up the basement side because it just takes too much time and the front garden is not that big enough. So yes, it's not going to work.
The size of the front garden made Shalewin concerned that his proposed basement level would be much too dark. So instead of going down, he's decided to go up. He's had planning approved for a loft extension, and it's not going to be reconfigured as a more spacious 4-bedroomed house. Downstairs will be a large open-plan living space, and an additional small extension will enlarge the kitchen to give it some extra dining space. On the first floor, he's planned a master bedroom with ensuite, 2 smaller bedrooms and a family bathroom. For the new loft conversion, there will be a nice-sized 4th bedroom and another family bathroom.
All the professional part has been done, all the architect, planning permission part, property vault surveyors, survey, structure engineer survey, they have all been done. Now we just are taking off at the moment. You see the property has been nearly stripped out to nothing left.
Nearly stripped out? That's an understatement. There's nothing left. The property may not have needed something quite so radical, but Shalewin has really gone for it. His uncompromising approach to even small details is the same, but it probably sums up his philosophy. Even when it came to a relatively small job like the front wall of the garden, it's being stripped bare rather than just being skimmed.
Because it just feels like you pour some strawberry milk in a fine wine, yeah.
It's taken him 13 months to get here, although the actual work only started 4 months ago, after he gained planning approval for the changes. He's hoping it'll take another 6 months to finish the work. But with all these changes to his plans, has his £300,000 budget changed as well?
Now we are spending around £200,000 to 250. Mostly we're gonna focus on the design for the kitchen and the master bedroom part, yeah, which I think mostly appeal the clients, the customers.
So his overall budget has come down to between £200,000 to £250,000. What will 2 local estate agents make of things?
Well, I'm really happy that it's going to stay as a 4-bedroom house, especially in this area, which is very popular with families, young working families with children. So it's great that it will stay as a house. The standard of finish in this area for a property will have to be a very good standard.
I think stripping it back to brick is really important because it allows them to see kind of what areas are in the property. It allows them to obviously see kind of what works can be done, so we go into the loft, etc. I think it looks really good. I'd say there's definitely a demand for a property like this, 4 bedrooms as well, especially given the fact that a lot of the properties in this area have been turned into flats rather than houses.
Shalewin hopes that a maximum of £250,000 will allow him to get this place finished, which, when added to the £890,000 he paid for it at auction, brings his total outlay to £1,140,000. So what could it be worth once complete?
Once renovated, I think this property could achieve anywhere between £1.15 to £1.25 million.
Once renovated as a 4-bedroom house, this property can achieve a price of £1.25 million.
I'm afraid I cannot agree with that. I expect something around 1.4 to 1.5 next year, so we'll see who's right.
So Shalewin is confident that he could potentially see in the region of £250,000 to £300,000 of profit here. But the agents think otherwise. Even so, he's not too worried either way.
Well, this one is more like a test water for me. I haven't really done any investment in this area. So if I can even make a tiny bit profit from that, I'm happy with it.
Hopefully you've enjoyed what you've seen today.
And maybe even learned a trick or two when it comes to property development.
Yes, well, there are plenty more auctions out there, so make sure you join us to see them next time here